A new trial is to be held in the case of a man accused of supplying a gun to Mark Duggan, whose fatal shooting by police sparked last summer's riots. Kevin Hutchinson-Foster was charged with passing the gun to Mr Duggan just 15 minutes before he was shot dead by police marksmen in Tottenham last year. But today, a jury at Snaresbrook Crown Court was discharged after it was unable to reach a verdict. Matt Prodger reports.
Paramedics fight in vain to save the life of a young man shot by police. He was 29-year-old Mark Duggan, and police said he was armed. That death sparked the Tottenham riots, which spread across London and to other English cities. Today, a jury failed to reach a verdict on this man, Kevin Hutchinson-Foster, who was accused of supplying Mark Duggan with the gun found at the shooting. But his trial has opened a window on the controversial event. Mark Duggan was being followed by the Met's gang crime task force Trident as he took a minicab across North London last year. The trial heard that in Leighton he was given a shoebox. He knew police in unmarked vehicles were tailing him. He sent a friend a text message to say so. And 10 minutes later, armed officers performed a hard stop on the cab, just ahead of a busy intersection. This is the spot where the minicab in which Mark Duggan was travelling was intercepted by police. They say that as he got out of the cab, he pulled a gun from the waistband of his trousers. They thought he was going to shoot, so they fired first. But they were the only witnesses who said they saw Mark Duggan holding a gun. After Mark Duggan fell to the ground, the gun wasn't found on his body. One eyewitness told the court she saw police take a gun from the minicab later. But police say they found it wrapped in a black sock on the grass 12 feet away to the other side of railings. This was it, loaded but not fired, and no trace of Mark Duggan's fingerprints. The court heard that his prints were found on the shoebox, which he'd been handed in the minicab. The firearms officers weren't interviewed about the shooting. Instead, the jury was told they'd provided statements written in the same room of their headquarters a few days later. The officers say they followed police guidelines, and they later gave evidence in court. Kevin Hutchinson-Foster said he himself had borrowed the gun from someone else a week earlier. Foster admitted using it to beat a barber at this Hackney hair salon, now under different ownership. But he denied giving it to Mark Duggan.
This firearm was being moved around, or it certainly suggested it was being moved around from one criminal to another criminal. It was being leased or loaned in order to scare, intimidate, maybe not necessarily to commit a crime such as a murder maybe, but clearly to intimidate and frighten another person.
Younger people in Tottenham also expressed concerns.
I think that they were wrong to shoot him because they didn't know, like, if he had a weapon on him at that time. If they never...
They say he had one in his hand.
Like, but where is it? Where is the evidence? No one in their right mind in Tottenham, in London, is going to go and shoot a police officer. No one will do that. So why would he draw for a weapon in broad daylight in Tottenham High Road to do what, when there's so many police around? It just doesn't make sense at all.
But some believe the police actions were justified.
I personally believe that it was right, because obviously if the police feel intimidated, we're all human beings at the end of the day. If they feel intimidated, then obviously they've got the right to obviously shoot, but they should probably go for the lower to shoot their leg or something.
Today, a jury failed to reach a verdict on whether Mark Duggan had been given a gun by Foster in the minutes before he was shot dead by police. But it wasn't tasked with deciding if the police shooting was right or wrong. That is for an inquest into Mark Duggan's death to be held next year.
And Matt Prodger is outside Snaresbrook Crown Court now. Matt, just clarify, what happens next in terms of a retrial?
Well, it's highly likely that there will be a retrial. The Crown has indicated that it intends to prosecute Kevin Hutchinson-Foster again on the same charge. That will have to take place before an inquest, and an inquest is what the Duggan family really want, because an inquest will answer the question as to whether the police shooting of Mark Duggan was justified or not. And this trial was never going to answer that question.
What has been the response from Mark Duggan's family tonight?
Well, they're very unhappy about the way that this trial has gone. They've released a statement in the past hour in which they say that they feel that it's been Mark Duggan on trial here, not Kevin Hutchinson-Foster, because so much of the evidence has related to the shooting of Mark Duggan. They also say that for the first time, they have been hearing evidence for the first time about what happened to Mark Duggan, which they hadn't heard before because there has been no inquest yet. And they're very hopeful that an inquest will be held as soon as possible.
Thank you, Matt Podger, with that update. An inquest into the